I stood there on the front porch of the house I paid off in full, my suitcase sitting by my feet. My son, my only child, was inside, yelling so loudly the neighbours could hear, "You don't deserve a dime of my money, old witch." He slammed the door in my face. I had nowhere to go, no jacket, no warning, just a cold heart and cruel words after raising him alone. All because I bought a lottery ticket, and he thought it was his. But what he didn't know, he never checked the name on the back, and a week later, he was the one knocking on my door. Before I dive in, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It really helps more people hear stories like this. I didn't cry. Not right away. I just stood there, numb, confused. I looked back at the door I used to walk through every evening after cooking, cleaning and holding this family together. That door was now closed to me like I never mattered. Just 48 hours earlier, we were sitting at the kitchen table sipping tea. That's when I said it. "I think I won something." My son Derek chuckled. "Oh yeah? What is it, a toaster? One of those supermarket raffles?" I smiled and slid the crumpled yellow ticket across the table. "No, the lottery. Look." He picked it up and squinted. This number?" He grabbed his phone, opened the lottery website, and froze. Then he stood up. You bought this?" "Yes," I said, confused. "Why?" He didn't speak. He just paced, his face pale, then red, then pale again. "You don't understand. This is 5 million, I laughed nervously. "No way. I mean, even if it is, we'll figure it out. I didn't even think it was real." That was the last peaceful moment I had. The next morning I woke up to Derek standing over my bed, holding a cup of coffee. "Here, Mom, for you." I smiled. "Thank you, baby." But something was off. He was too calm. His smile was fake, his eyes cold. He sat on the edge of my bed. "I was thinking about the ticket. You know, technically you used my card to buy it." I blinked. "No, I gave you cash. You gave me your wallet for the store card. I slipped the cash in." He waved his hand. "Same thing, I helped. It's basically mine." "Derek." "No, Mom, don't talk." He stood and walked to the door. "You're old. You wouldn't even know what to do with that money. Let someone useful handle it." And just like that, my son decided he was the owner of that ticket. The following day, I went out for groceries. When I came back, the locks were changed, my suitcase was outside, and taped to it, a note that read, "Don't come back. You're lucky I'm not calling the cops." My hands shook. I looked around. Neighbours stared from their windows but did nothing. My heart was thudding, not just from betrayal but from fear. I walked to the bus stop with nowhere to go. No phone, no family, no idea what came next. That night I stayed at a cheap inn with the last cash in my purse. I didn't sleep. I sat in that room, staring at the ceiling, asking myself what I did wrong as a mother. But then I remembered something small, almost silly. The back of the ticket. You see, when I bought that ticket, I did what the clerk told me. "Always sign it," she said. "Write your name and date, just in case." So I did. I opened my purse and pulled out the receipt envelope I always carry. Tucked neatly inside, the photocopy of my signed lottery ticket. Name, Gloria H. Owens. Date, June 14th. I smiled for the first time in 2 days. Derek had never even looked. He was so busy celebrating, so drunk with greed, he never realized the ticket wasn't signed over to him, and that changed everything. I made a call. A week later, there was a knock on my new door. Derek, shaking, crying. "Mum, I made a mistake. Please, let's talk." I didn't answer. I just stepped out onto the porch, and the house behind me. It was mine, paid in full, with my money. But I wasn't ready to forgive him yet, because what came next would leave him speechless. The knock on my new door kept coming, soft at first, then desperate. "Mum, please. I know I messed up. I was just..." I wasn't thinking straight. I stood behind the curtains, watching him. Derek, my son. The same son who called me a burden, who tossed my suitcase outside like I was trash, who said I didn't deserve a dime. Now he looked like a boy again, his face pale, his shoulders slumped, eyes watery. But I didn't move. I didn't open the door. I just watched. The house I stood in was quiet, peaceful, fully furnished, and paid in full. I had signed the winning ticket. I'd taken it to the lottery office myself after leaving the motel that night. The woman at the desk double-checked everything, signature, ID, date. She smiled and said, "Congratulations, ma'am. You're a millionaire." I remember standing there, stunned. What? What now? She handed me a folder. "You'll be contacted by our financial advisors, but for now go do something for yourself, whatever you want." And so I did. My first decision? I didn't tell anyone, especially not Derek. He had made his position clear. I was nothing to him, a burden, useless. He made sure I felt that with every cruel word he said before locking me out of the home I built for us. So I vanished. I went silent. I used a lawyer and a private real estate consultant. Within 72 hours, I bought a 3-bedroom ranch house in a quiet cul-de-sac, freshly painted, fully furnished, all-cash deal. I even bought a used SUV with heated seats and the smell of freedom still in the upholstery. Derek had no idea where I went, until the ticket was flagged. You see, once the lottery office announced the winner, they didn't release my name, but they did release the location where the ticket was purchased. Derek had been parading around like a king, telling everyone he won. He even gave interviews under fake names talking about plans to invest, travel, and take care of his loved ones. Lies. Because I knew for a fact. The moment he thought he had that money, I stopped being his loved one. His downfall started 2 days later. He walked into the lottery office demanding to speak to someone about his prize. They asked for his ID. He gave it. They asked for the ticket. He handed it over with a smug grin. Then the woman scanned it and paused. "Sir, this ticket was already claimed," she said. "What? No. That's mine. I won." She turned the ticket over. The signature glared back at him. Gloria H. Owens. My name, in thick black ink, right beneath the date. They didn't say anything more. They just told him it was a legal matter now. That's when the panic began. My phone buzzed for the first time in days, over 20 missed calls, dozens of texts. "Mum, call me, please." I didn't mean what I said. "We can split it, just talk to me. Don't do this, I'll lose everything." I ignored them all. I spent that week setting up my new life. I hired a lawyer, set up a trust, donated to the women's shelter that once saved me from Derek's abusive father. And I started to sleep again. For the first time in years, my nights were calm. But now there he was, on my porch, knocking like he still had the right. "Mum, please let me explain." I stepped out, keeping the storm door locked between us. He looked startled to see me. "Derek," I said calmly. His face crumpled. "Mum, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I messed up." "Yes," I said. "You did." He stepped closer. "I thought it was mine. I didn't even think to check." "I know," I said. "Because you never do think. You act, you yell, you take." "I was under pressure. I lost my job. I was scared." "Scared of what?" I asked. "Of being broke? Of having to take care of your own life without treating me like your servant?" He looked away. I opened the storm door just wide enough to hand him something. A letter, sealed and stamped. He took it. "What's this?" "My final decision," I said. I closed the door and walked away. Behind me, through the small window, I watched him read. His mouth moved as his eyes scanned the page. His lips trembled. He shook his head. No, please, Mom." But I didn't turn back. The letter was simple. "Dear Derek, you have made your feelings clear. I am a burden, an inconvenience, and undeserving. Please understand I have no hatred in my heart. But I now have clarity. You will not receive a penny from me. I wish you peace and growth, but from a distance. Mum. He stood outside for almost an hour, crying, begging. But the door stayed closed, just like my heart. Because sometimes the real jackpot isn't money. It's finally realizing your worth and walking away from the people who never saw it. The next morning I sat at my kitchen table in silence, stirring my tea as birds chirped softly outside the window. Sunlight warmed the room, touching the glossy wood cabinets and fresh white curtains. Peace. Something I hadn't felt in years. But under that peace, something restless churned inside me. I didn't feel triumphant. Not yet. Derek's visit had shaken something loose. Not because of what he said, but because of what I remembered. Raising him hadn't always been like this. There was a time when he was sweet, a time when he clung to my arm and said he'd buy me a castle one day. A time when we baked birthday cupcakes in our tiny apartment kitchen and he made me cards with "World's Best Mum" scribbled in purple crayon. What happened to that boy? When did he turn into someone who would throw me out like garbage? And worst of all, why hadn't I seen it sooner? The day after his visit, I got a knock again. But it wasn't Derek. It was a woman. She looked to be in her early 30s, slim, tired eyes holding a baby on her hip. The little one had curly hair and cheeks round as apples. The woman's coat was threadbare and her shoes were worn at the edges. "Hi," she said gently. "You don't know me. I'm Lila. I used to be with Derek." I blinked. "Used to?" She gave a nervous smile. "He said you might slam the door in my face. I wouldn't blame you if you did." I stepped outside. The baby reached for me. I didn't even know my son had a child. We sat on the porch while she explained everything. Derek had been spiraling for a long time. He got involved with risky schemes, borrowed money from people who didn't ask twice. Lila had tried to hold things together, but he started drinking, screaming, threatening. Eventually she ran, took the baby and left. She'd been living in a shelter since then. "And then," she whispered, "he found out about the ticket." Her voice trembled. He said it was his fresh start, that he'd get rich and come get us. But not because he missed us, just to make a show. I could feel my breath hitch. She wasn't here for money. She didn't ask for anything. She just wanted to warn me. "I don't think he's going to stop. He's desperate now. He knows you're the winner. He knows he can't take it legally, but he doesn't care." She looked up at me, tears in her eyes. "Just be careful." I thanked her, gave her some warm food, a stroller from the garage, and an envelope with some bills. Not too much, just enough to get her through the week. She walked away in tears, whispering blessings. And I stood there frozen. Derek was unravelling, and he knew where I lived. 2 days passed. I tried to go back to my new normal, read a book, did a little gardening, even took a cooking class over Zoom with a few ladies from the community centre. But it happened on the third night. At exactly 2:13 a.m, I heard a sound outside, a metallic clang, then another. I slipped out of bed, heart pounding, and peeked through the blinds. A dark figure was by my car, hooded, trying to jimmy the door open. It was him. I flipped on the porch light and slammed the door open. "Derek!" He jumped, dropped the tool in his hand and spun toward me. "Mom, I just wanted to talk." "By breaking into my car?" He held up his hands. "I wasn't going to take anything. I just wanted to get inside." "You're not welcome here." He stepped forward, his eyes wild. "You don't understand, Mom. I lost everything. Everyone's calling me a liar. My credit cards are frozen. I got evicted. My friends won't pick up. You have everything now, and I have nothing. You made your choices. I was desperate." "No, Derek, you were cruel. There's a difference." The baby's face flashed in my mind, Lila's trembling voice. And I made a decision. I called the police. Not to arrest him, just to create a file. A record. So that if things got worse, I'd already have documentation. He stood there, eyes wide. "You're calling the cops on your own son?" You stopped being my son the moment you kicked me out of my house, Derek. You said I was worthless. You said I didn't deserve a dime. Don't pretend you meant any of it in love. He stared at me, jaw tight, fists clenched at his side. Then he did something I didn't expect. He laughed. You think this is over? It's your name on that ticket, sure, but you wouldn't have had it if it wasn't for me. You used my gas, my car, my wallet to buy groceries that day. That ticket is mine. One way or another, I'll get what's owed to me. Then he disappeared into the night. The officers arrived minutes later. I told them everything. They took notes, took the tool he dropped, and gave me a patrol contact. You're smart to log this early, Ma'am, one of them said. Let's get ahead of it. I didn't sleep that night, but I wasn't scared. Not anymore. I was done playing the helpless mother. This money wasn't a prize, it was my second chance. And I was about to do something Derek would never see coming. The next morning I didn't brew tea. I brewed a plan. No more fear, no more waiting around wondering what Derek might do next. He wanted to play games. Fine. But I was no longer the quiet mother in the background. I was a millionaire now, with receipts, records, and a full name on the ticket. He forgot who raised him, and he clearly didn't know what I was capable of when cornered. First, I called my lawyer, Mrs. Brighton. She'd handled everything from the lottery claim to the house purchase, and she knew Derek had tried to come after me. She sounded calm, but sharp. I was expecting this, she said. Men like your son don't stop until someone forces them to. I'm going to draft 2 things, a cease and desist letter and a protective filing. It won't go through as a full restraining order unless he escalates, but it will send a message. Good. I wanted Derek to know he was being watched now, not just by me, but by the law. Then, I called the bank. I'd like to move everything into a new trust. Lock it up. My name off the visible accounts. Set up a secondary layer of protection. The woman on the phone chuckled. That's smart, Ma'am. Most people don't think about security until it's too late. Let's just say I've had a few rude awakenings lately. Next, I paid a visit to the shelter where Lila and the baby had stayed. I didn't call first, I just showed up with 2 bags of groceries, a brand new stroller, and a check in my purse. Lila's eyes widened when she saw me. I didn't think you'd come back. I gave her a small smile. I'm not here to fix everything, sweetheart. But I am here to help you take the next step. She burst into tears. We talked for hours that afternoon. I asked about her dreams, her skills, her goals. She used to be a medical assistant, but Derek had pressured her to quit and stay home. Said a real man takes care of things, then left her with bills and bruises when his deals fell through. I didn't pity her. I respected her. She was surviving something I'd barely escaped myself. Years ago, when Derek's father broke more than just furniture. When I left that shelter, I left behind a fully paid apartment lease in her name, 6 months of rent, a part-time job offer I helped arrange through a friend in healthcare, and a bank account only she could access. I left without fanfare, and without telling Derek a thing, let him stew in his own mess. Let him guess where I went and what I was doing. He thought I'd disappear. No, I was building. 3 days later, the cease and desist letter reached him. He texted me one word. Really? I didn't respond. But apparently, he had one last card to play. It was around noon. I was out on my porch watering my new roses when a black car rolled up to the curb. Slick, tinted windows, the kind of vehicle people rent when they want to pretend they're somebody. A man stepped out. Mid-40s, too confident, alligator shoes, slicked back hair. Mrs. Owens? Yes? I represent your son, Derek Owens. He's seeking a civil resolution regarding the lottery funds in dispute. I laughed. Dispute? What dispute? Well, he said, flipping through his folder, we believe that since the ticket was purchased using Mr. Owens's car, wallet and gas, he is entitled to at least a partial share of the winnings under constructive contribution theory. No. Excuse me? No, I repeated, Tell Derek he can send 10 more suits in 10 more cars and it won't change a thing. The law doesn't reward greed, it protects people who do things right. My name, my signature, my win. The man cleared his throat. If this goes to court. Oh, I hope it does, I said, smiling. Let's see how he explains the eviction note he taped to his mother's suitcase, or the spyware he tried to install on my phone, or the baby he abandoned, or the ex-girlfriend willing to testify. His lips twitched. He knew. He nodded, closed the folder, and stepped back into the car. I waved him off like a fly. That night, I sat in my favourite chair, fireplace crackling, a soft throw blanket around my legs. My phone buzzed. It was Lila. She sent a picture. Her baby, asleep in a crib. Her first real bed in months. I stared at that photo for a long time. Then I looked around at the silence, the peace, the safety I finally had. I didn't need revenge. I just needed release. And I'd gotten it. But Derek wasn't done yet. The next morning, a knock came again. But this time, it wasn't him. It was the press. Microphones, cameras, reporters with notepads. Mrs. Owens, did you really keep your $5 million win secret from your own son? Is it true he's now homeless? Why haven't you spoken out until now? I blinked, then I smiled. Because I knew exactly what to do next. And I was going to own the narrative. When the press showed up at my doorstep, I was halfway through my second cup of coffee. I heard them before I saw them, the faint hum of tyres, the sudden screech of brakes, and the soft thud of feet on pavement. I turned to the window and saw 2 vans pulling up, followed by a few people with cameras slung around their shoulders and notepads in hand. I froze. They didn't knock right away. They lingered on the sidewalk, whispering, checking their phones, occasionally glancing toward the porch. One woman with a shiny red blazer and flawless makeup tapped her microphone and signalled toward her cameraman. Then, knock, knock, knock. Mrs. Owens? A voice called, polite but eager. Just a moment of your time? I didn't respond at first. I just stood inside behind the door, heart thudding. I wasn't scared. I wasn't even angry. I was just surprised. But deep down, I should have expected this. Derek had gone public. Of course he had. If he couldn't steal my winnings through lies, manipulation, or force, he'd try public opinion next. He'd try to paint me as the villain, the heartless millionaire mother who abandoned her only son, the cruel old woman who hoarded her fortune. Typical. They always rewrite the story when they lose. I opened the door. Yes? I said calmly. The reporter straightened, surprised I didn't slam the door or call the police. I'm Emily Chen from KTV9. There's been quite a lot of buzz lately about your son, Derek Owens. He claims he's been wrongfully excluded from your lottery winnings. I raised an eyebrow. Is that so? She smiled tightly. We just want to hear your side. In fact, most people online are saying the real story hasn't been told yet. There's a lot of curiosity. I sighed. You want the truth? We do. I stepped back. Then come inside. But I want everything recorded. Emily blinked. Recorded? Yes, I said, pointing to my phone on the counter. My home, my version, my words. If I'm going to speak, I want the same protection Derek has when he talks to strangers about his mother. She nodded. Fair enough. The camera guy entered behind her, and I gestured for them to sit at the table. I looked directly into the lens and began. My name is Gloria Owens. I am 62 years old. I worked 3 jobs for most of my life. I raised my son Derek alone after his father left, after years of abuse, addiction, and debt. I washed floors, cleaned offices, and nursed strangers just to put food on our table. Emily scribbled something on her notepad but didn't interrupt. I taught my son to tie his shoes. I packed his lunch. I stayed up through the night when he had asthma attacks. I skipped meals so he could have enough. I sold my wedding ring to keep the lights on one winter. I leaned forward slightly. And when I won the lottery, Derek didn't hug me. He didn't say congratulations. He told me I didn't deserve a dime, and then he kicked me out of my own home. No warning, no bags packed. Just a note on my suitcase saying, "Don't come back." Emily looked stunned. I had no money, no contacts, no backup plan. I slept at a motel that night. I could have been robbed or worse, but I wasn't angry yet. I was just broken. The camera zoomed slightly. And then I remembered. I'd signed the ticket. I smiled faintly. It had my name, my date, my handwriting. So I went to the lottery office the next morning and claimed it quietly. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't go on social media. I didn't gloat. I just disappeared because I was scared. I paused. Then Derek came to find me. He begged, he lied, he threatened. And when I wouldn't give in, he sent a lawyer. And now, he sent you. Emily lowered her pen. Do you have any message for the people watching this? I nodded slowly. Yes, I do. I looked straight into the camera. No amount of money changes a person's heart. It only reveals who they really are. I didn't become cruel when I won $5 million. My son became cruel when he thought he did. Silence. Powerful silence. Emily blinked hard, then finally said, "Thank you for your honesty." The interview ended shortly after. I walked them out and watched their van pull away. By sunset, my phone started buzzing. Hundreds of notifications, thousands of views, then hundreds of thousands. The interview went viral. Clips of my quote were turned into memes and reaction videos. People called me Queen Gloria. Comments flooded in, people telling their own stories of ungrateful children, betrayals, and quiet victories. I thought it was over. But I was wrong. 3 days later, I received a legal summons. Derek had filed a lawsuit, not for a portion of the money, but for full ownership of the winning ticket. His claim? That the ticket was purchased during a joint household expenditure, and that I had knowingly and maliciously claimed it in secret. I stared at the letter in my hands and laughed. Because now, it was public record, and court? Court was my favourite place for secrets to come out. I called Mrs. Brighton. We prepared everything, the signed ticket, the clerk's written statement, the security footage from the store, even text messages where Derek insulted me, admitted he hadn't checked the ticket, and bragged about spending money that wasn't his. But the real surprise? Lila. She showed up at my door again, but not in tears. She was wearing a blazer, holding papers. "I'm ready to testify," she said. "I have text messages, audio clips. I even have the old phone Derek used to send voice notes." I blinked. "Why now?" She nodded, voice strong. "Because my daughter deserves better than a father who lies to the world. And because you gave us our first shot at freedom." The courtroom was small. Not one of those dramatic TV rooms with giant chandeliers or oak walls. Just white walls, plastic chairs, and a judge with tired eyes and sharp ears. Derek sat at the opposite table. He looked terrible, unshaven, hands shaking, suit too big for his frame. He refused to meet my eyes. His lawyer stood and rattled off a speech about how I manipulated a dependent household member and exploited a technicality to keep funds from someone integral to the purchase process. Mrs. Brighton stood up next. She walked the court through everything: photos, video, statements, timeline. The moment I signed the ticket, the moment Derek changed the locks, the eviction note, the police report from when he tried to break into my car. Then she said calmly, "And finally, Your Honour, we have a witness willing to testify about Mr. Owens's intentions, threats, and admission that he never believed his mother deserved the winnings. I'd like to call Ms. Lila Hayes to the stand." Derek's head snapped up. "What?" he hissed. Lila walked in, back straight, eyes calm. She sat, was sworn in, and then told everything. How Derek planned to run away with the money, how he said she'll be dead soon anyway, how he bragged about fooling the system, how he never even looked at the back of the ticket. She even played an audio clip, his voice, crystal clear. Once I get the cash, I'll disappear. She won't even know what hit her. Let her cry. She's had her time. The judge stared at him, and then turned to me. Mrs. Owens, he said, you may not have intended for any of this to happen, but you've demonstrated strength, integrity, and foresight. This court recognizes your legal and moral ownership of the winnings. Case dismissed. I don't remember standing up. I don't remember leaving the courthouse. I only remember stepping outside and taking the deepest breath of my life. For the first time in years, the weight was gone. Not just the fear, but the guilt, the shame of wondering if I was a bad mother. Because now I knew the truth. I had been a good mother. But sometimes love isn't enough to fix someone who chooses to be broken. That night I sat on my porch under the stars. No cameras, no press. Just quiet. Lila called. They offered me a permanent position, she said. Part-time nursing assistant. Benefits. I signed the lease. We're moving in tomorrow. I'm proud of you, I whispered. You gave us that chance. No, I said. You took it. I just opened the door. She was quiet for a moment, then said something that made my heart stop. You know, the baby's starting to talk now. She said something yesterday. Oh? She said, Gamma. Not Mama. Gamma. I blinked hard. She thinks you're family now. I couldn't speak. I just nodded. Because maybe, just maybe, after everything Derek tried to take away from me, life was giving me something back. 6 months passed. The leaves turned golden and brittle, the breeze chilled, and the soft hum of fall settled over the quiet neighborhood where I now lived. No one there knew I was a millionaire. They just knew me as Miss Gloria, the woman who always bakes too much banana bread. And I liked it that way. Every Sunday, I dropped off homemade cookies at the local fire station. On Tuesdays, I volunteered at the public library, and every morning, I sat on my porch swing with a cup of tea, watching the sun rise across my small, peaceful front yard. Derek hadn't tried to contact me again. Not after the court loss. Not after the media turned on him. Not after people dug through his old interviews and caught him lying again and again. He became a warning to others, a headline, a cautionary tale. Entitled, Son Loses Lawsuit After Kicking Out Mom. Millionaire Mother Speaks Out. He tried to sue the news outlets too, failed again. Rumour had it he was staying on a friend's couch, that he burned through what little savings he had trying to sue me, that he owed everyone and blamed everyone. But I didn't follow it too closely, because I was finally living again. What surprised me most, though, was how many people started writing to me. Letters, emails, handwritten notes from strangers. Some said I reminded them of their own mothers. Some were young people who said my story woke them up, that they called their mums after watching it and apologised for being ungrateful. One letter stood out. It came from a girl named Marissa, 17 years old, in Iowa. She wrote, I saw your story on YouTube. My brother always tells my mom she's nothing and that she owes him. I've heard her cry at night, but after watching what you said, I realize my mom's a hero. She's done everything for us. I just wanted you to know you helped me see her. I cried reading it, not from sadness, from peace, because I realized maybe my story wasn't just for me. Maybe it was for all the quiet women who held families together without ever being thanked. Maybe it was for all the mothers who never got to sign their ticket, but still gave their everything. Lila and the baby, now walking, talking, laughing, came by every Saturday. We baked cookies, planted herbs in the backyard, watched cartoons. The baby called me Gamma now, like it was always meant to be that way. Lila had gone back to school. She said she wanted to become a full nurse and eventually open a women's clinic. She asked me if I'd invest in it when the time came. I said, I'll be your first donor. Then one morning, something unexpected happened. I got a letter in the mailbox, no return address. Inside, a single piece of paper, no words, just a photo. It was Derek, sitting on a park bench, head down, no shoes. Taped to the back was a note in his handwriting. I'm messed up, but I'm done blaming you. I'm going away for a while. Don't try to find me. That was it. No apology, no plea for help. Just a kind of quiet surrender. I stared at that photo for a long time, and for the first time in a very long time, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel bitterness. I just felt done. Not everything has to end with a grand apology or a perfect reunion. Sometimes the best ending is letting go. I folded the letter, placed it in a small wooden box with a few old photos, and tucked it away in a drawer. And then I stepped outside, into the sun. The breeze was soft. The garden smelled of lavender and warm earth. Across the street, Lila waved as she walked her daughter to daycare. The little one pointed at me and shouted, "Gamma!" I waved back. This life? This quiet, beautiful, earned life? It was mine. Not because I won the lottery, but because I finally chose myself. And I'll say this, for anyone still wondering. He never checked the name on the ticket. But I finally remembered the name I'd forgotten for so long. Gloria. It means glory. And baby. That's exactly what I walked into.